everybody, I'm Chef Julia Dunaway, and today I'm going to be making some oatmeal nut butter balls. And this is really simple, so I even wondered about doing a YouTube video on this, but I made this on TikTok, and then all these people said, well, I couldn't figure out how you did this part, and then what did you do after that? And so I thought, oh, I just need to make it. So I'm going to make it today and make a couple of variations of these handy oatmeal balls. And what's really great about them is you can keep them in your freezer, and then whenever you need a quick breakfast or a snack, you can just take them out and throw them in a Ziploc bag and take them with you, or set them on a plate on the counter, and there you have a really great snack. They taste good. They actually taste good as a treat because they're sweet, they have peanut butter, they have all the right things in them. They're kind of like eating a peanut butter cookie or an oatmeal peanut butter cookie. My husband, who doesn't really eat the same way I do, he loves these things, and he doesn't like everything I make, if you know him. So we're going to start with the basic one, and the first one, I'm going to make two kinds. I'm going to make blueberry maple vanilla, and the second one I'm going to make is double chocolate walnut, which I've never made before, but I'm sure it'll turn out fine. But we'll start with the basic one. Anybody can make this one very easily. And it starts with just some rolled oats. I buy these in the bulk section, organic rolled oats. And I like to get them fresh from the bulk section in the grocery store as often, on a regular basis, because sometimes when you buy them, from places like Amazon or something, you don't know how long they've been around. Sometimes I've gotten things from bulk places and they weren't that good. They weren't that fresh. So 2 cups of rolled oats. We could also use a little bit of quick oats if you had quick oats. I'm not going to today, but you can combine rolled oats and quick oats if you wanted to. Make like, 1 cup of rolled oats and 1 cup of quick oats. It might mix together a little bit easier. I never found it necessary, but I know some people like it that way. And then I'm going to use a 1/2 cup of oat flour. Oat flour is nothing more than ground up oats. So there's nothing magical about oat flour. A 1/4 of a cup of measuring. It doesn't have to be so exact because we're just making it into balls. So, it's not going to be baked or anything. It's a no-cook recipe too, because I had people ask me when they saw my TikTok video, they said, how long are you supposed to cook them? I said, oh no, I guess I didn't make it very clear. So we've got our oatmeal and oat flour, and then we're going to add some seeds. You can add any kind of seeds. You can add hemp seeds, ground flax seeds, which I'll add those. And then I like to add sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds. Those are the 4 I'm going to use today, but we only need a half of a cup total. So I'm going to just fill my 1/2 cup with a lot of sunflower seeds, because I really like sunflower seeds. Not as many pumpkin seeds, because they can be a little bit big. So they're a little bit big, so maybe, a couple tablespoons of pumpkin seeds. Hemp seeds I like, and they're small, so I'll put quite a couple tablespoons of hemp seeds. And then flax seeds are pretty small. You've seen them. Ground flax seeds are almost like a powder. So I'll kind of fill the rest of my 1/2 cup with flax seeds. So you saw what I did. I just put like a combination of all these different seeds in here. And that way I have a nice variety. I'll just mix it up with my hand. I'm the only one that's going to eat these, pretty much. So that's the dry ingredients. We'll just set that aside. Oh, and we can put a pinch of salt in here. So I'm just going to I just put a pinch of salt. You can measure it. I think it's like 1/4 of a teaspoon. You can put more in there if you like, but I think that's enough. And then we have the wet ingredients. We have our choice of peanut butter. We could use almond butter. We could use any kind of peanut butter. I have a crunchy organic peanut butter that I bought recently, Brad's organic peanut butter at Central Market. I really like this one. I don't think I'm going to use it in the oatmeal balls because it was such a good one for a peanut butter sandwich. The same with this one. This one is called CB's Nuts. And this was a slow barrel roasted creamunchy grind. So it's a combination of creamy and crunchy. And I'm not going to use this for the oatmeal balls because this was kind of expensive and it tasted really good on bread. But just to show you that, you know, there was no limit to what you could use. You could find any sort of nut butter, but I like to use something that doesn't have anything in it but peanuts, and make sure it's vegan because some of them do have other ingredients in them. And there's nothing else added. Like a lot of times peanut butter will say peanut spread, and it has a bunch of other ingredients in it besides peanut butter. So just kind of be careful with that. We're going to use a cup of peanut butter or any nut butter. And look at this. This nut butter is from Whole Foods. It's just their peanut butter. They have organic and regular, but this one is really nice because look how smooth it is and how liquid it is, which is really a big benefit when we're going to try to mix it with our oats, because we don't have to heat this in the microwave. If you have a pretty stiff peanut butter, you know, the normal peanut butter where you take it out of the jar and it's like a big clump, then I'm going to say you need to soften it up in the microwave at 30 seconds at 40% power. Not high, just 40% power, because if you don't, it's going to be hard to mix the peanut butter in with the oatmeal. But because this particular peanut butter is so soft, we don't really have to do anything with it. And then 1/3 of a cup of maple syrup or date syrup. I'll just use this measuring cup. I'm going to use maple syrup because I like blueberries and maple syrup. That's kind of this recipe. But let's say that I didn't want to use maple syrup. Maple syrup is kind of expensive. This is the real thing. This is 100% pure maple syrup from Vermont. And it's not cheap. So I also have date syrup from the Date Lady. Look at that gigantic thing. It's as big as my head. I love this stuff. So I might use a little bit of this at the end if I need to moisten it up a little bit. So I'm mixing my maple syrup with the peanut butter. And let's see what other ingredients I could put in here. Oh, a little vanilla extract. So I'm going to put in some vanilla, just a teaspoon of vanilla. Of course, if there was some other extract that you like, you could always add that. Some people have a whole set of different gourmet extracts that they like to use, but I just have good old vanilla extract. Also, I didn't put this in yet, but we could add coconut. And I think coconut would be a good addition. So I have some shredded coconut flakes. I think I'll add 1/2 cup of that to my dry mixture. And these are unsweetened. Be sure to get the unsweetened. You know, when I used to cook for my kids, we always had those, that really, you know, sweet baker's coconut. And I know you know what I'm talking about. It's full of sugar. That's what we used back in the day. I'm going to use that now, just saying. And then, I also wanted to add some maple cinnamon. This is from a company called Fresh Jacks. I don't have any affiliate agreements with them or anything. I just like their stuff and I've been using it. And I love this. It's maple cinnamon topping, but it has maple syrup, cinnamon, coconut, and Himalayan pink salt. And whatever you put it, I'm going to put 2 teaspoons of it. Whatever I've put it in makes it taste so good. So consider ordering this from Fresh Jacks. It's really good. And if you didn't want to use that, on my spice rack that you probably can't see over here, I have just regular old cinnamon. Just use cinnamon. You don't have to use a fancy mix. I just happen to have that, and I like to use the things that I have because that's why I get them. And then what I'm going to do is get a whisk, and I'm going to whisk up the stuff here. This is all my dry ingredients. Remember, it's oatmeal, oat flour, a little salt, the maple cinnamon mixture, the seeds, all the seeds, pumpkin seeds, chia seeds, flax seeds, hemp seeds, anything you like. You could use, I'm trying to think what other seeds you can get. Oh, I didn't put chia seeds in here. You could use chia seeds. They do have a little black color, but that, you know, isn't a bad thing. And then all I'm putting in here is that peanut butter maple syrup mixture. And, you know, that's really it. What we're going to do now is we're going to mix these together well. And then the secret, one of the things that works really well is to chill it. To mix it up really well and then chill it. Oh, I know, I forgot my secret ingredient, the blueberries. Remember, this is a blueberry. So we'll put that in here in a minute. Mix it a little bit. Trying to think if I add this, we mix this together first and then add whatever chips or dried fruit. So we don't add the dried fruit until after it's mixed together. Of course, it wouldn't really hurt if you mixed it in. You know, cooking is not that complicated. I had so many people ask me questions about this, and I was really kind of surprised at the questions I got, because some of the questions were like, oh, it's too dry. So they would mix it together like what I'm doing. I'm mixing it together, you can see. And I'm just mixing that peanut butter mixture with the maple syrup and, you know, my dry ingredients. And it's very moist. I could tell you right now that I could easily form this into balls right now. It wouldn't be any problem at all. So, you know, I would just pick it up and it would easily form into a ball. That's what you could test. You could say, oh, will it form into a ball? Yes, this will form into a ball really easily. But let's say that it didn't. And of course, I need to mix it up a little bit more. So let me mix the bottom part. But I could tell that it's, you know, all the dry ingredients have mixed in pretty well. Kind of picking it up from the bottom. So I've got this mixed up really well, and I can tell you right now that I can pick up any part of it and it forms into a ball. But I'm going to chill it in the fridge for 30 minutes, and that will make it set up. But first I'm going to put my blueberries in this. But I have people, let me wash my hands, sticky. I've had people ask me about what happens if it's too dry and it doesn't form into a ball. So then I thought, well, just add more moisture to it. And this is, I'm going to put a cup of dried blueberries. So this is 1/2, and this is another cup. These dried blueberries are $17 a pound at the local Central Market, which is our gourmet store. So they're kind of expensive, but all they are is dried blueberries, and they're very good. They taste really good. So if you're going to use something like that, taste it. They don't have any added sugar, nothing. They're just dried blueberries, and that's what I wanted. Okay, so then when people ask me about, oh, you know, they didn't form into balls, what was wrong? What am I going to do? All you have to do, get my towel back, is add a little bit more moisture in the form of two things. You could add more peanut butter, so you could, you know, put another spoonful of peanut butter, and I don't need to on this. You could add a little bit more maple syrup, and I wouldn't add more than a tablespoon at a time, and then mix it up, and then test it. You know, pick some up and say, does it hold together in a ball? And if it does, you're good. If not, add a little bit more, a little bit at a time, until it forms together. Same with date syrup. Let's say that you wanted to use the date syrup now to moisten it up a little bit more. You could just drizzle in a little bit of your date syrup. But just whatever you do, you just want to get some moisture in it. I'm going to put it in the refrigerator. And then that way, 30 minutes from now, you know, I'll take it out and we'll form it into balls. But in the meantime, I want to make recipe number 2, which I think you'll really like. And that one was inspired by chocolate. I don't need much to inspire me to use chocolate because I love chocolate. So what I have here is I already have the dry ingredients mixed up, so we don't have to watch me measure them all over again. There's no nuts and seeds in here, just basically the oatmeal and the oat flour and a little salt. So I'm going to decide to put some, I think on this one I'm just going to put sunflower seeds in it and nothing else. And my other one has the hemp seeds and the flax seeds and the pumpkin seeds, but this one is just going to have sunflower seeds. We don't have to put everything in every one because I'm also going to put walnuts in this one, but a little bit later. So I'm going to have sunflower seeds and walnuts. And then I have some chocolate, but we still have to put our nut butter in here. We still have to mix it with some peanut butter or almond butter and our syrup, some type of syrup. Okay, so I've got to get a spoon or something to help me get the peanut butter out of here. Would help to have that ready, wouldn't it? Okay, here it goes. This one I have to kind of scoop out of the bottom of the jar, but that's all right. So this is going to be double chocolate. Double chocolate means I'm going to put some cocoa powder in the mixture along with some chocolate chips. I think that sounds pretty good. So this is not quite enough peanut butter. So if you bought a jar of peanut butter thinking you were going to make 2 batches, you might need to have, oops, well, that went flying. You might need to have a little bit more. So what we'll do is we'll take some peanut butter from my delicious Brad's organic crunchy peanut butter. I love this stuff. And this was another one that wasn't very hard. See how it just kind of flows out of the jar? I didn't have to, scrape it out, because sometimes you get a peanut butter and it's really hard and chunky and you have to really melt it down. But I've had good success not having to do that with the kinds I've used. So I've got my cup of nut butter, and then I'm going to use my maple syrup. Well, that's kind of messy, isn't it? So I have, my options are maple syrup or date syrup, but I'm going to use maple syrup just because I like it. So I'll put 1/3 cup of maple syrup in this one. And if you don't really like it this sweet, I think that the date syrup is a little bit lower on the glycemic index. So, there's always talk of substitute other forms of sugar with dates or date syrup. So use the date syrup if you don't want it super sweet tasting. I just happen to really love the taste of maple syrup, so that's why I'm using maple syrup for everything. Okay, so here's my wet ingredients right here. I can put my vanilla in here. Even though it's chocolate, it's not going to hurt anything to have a little vanilla flavoring. It just makes everything taste a little bit better. So I've got my vanilla. All right, so now what we're going to do is mix, again, just like what you saw before. We're going to mix in this into the oatmeal sunflower seed mixture. And then I'm going to add some more things. I may have to come back later and scrape the rest of this out, but that's okay. So what I'm going to add to this for my chocolate, and I was going to show you some different options, but I'm going to add what I have, which is dark chocolate, vegan dark chocolate that I have. It comes in little discs, so I had to chop it up. So if you look at it, it's just chopped into little tiny blocks. Some people say, and then here's a 1/2 cup of walnuts. Some people say that they would use mini chocolate chips. So you could use mini chocolate chips if you wanted to. Oh, and then I need to get my cocoa powder in here. So what other chocolate chip products are there? Really, I could use Trader Joe's cacao, or I could use cocoa powder. I'm going to use Trader Joe's cacao powder, which is something I would use in smoothies and different things. I'm going to just use a tablespoon because I don't want to completely overpower this with the chocolate. Let me see what a tablespoon looks like. And like I said, I haven't really made it with the double chocolate version before. That's kind of new. I just thought of that. I just thought, what the heck? That sounds good. I'm going to make it that way. So, if that doesn't really look like it's added that much chocolate to it, then I could add a little bit more. But I think that's enough. And the other way I would know is if I tasted it. So I can mix it a little bit more and then taste it. Now this one seems a little bit drier than the other one. So I don't know why that is, but it just seems like looking at it, it's a little drier. Why is that? I don't know. And so, like I said earlier, if it looks dry to you, then what you have to do is add a little more moisture in the form of peanut butter or the maple syrup or the date syrup or whatever it is you're using. But I think this one needs a little bit more. One thing too that you have to be careful of in your recipe, and I was going to taste it to see if it needed more cocoa powder. I think it could use another tablespoon to really taste it. I'm just going to put another tablespoon of cocoa powder. So that's kind of how I make stuff. You know, it's like trial and error, a lot of error. Taste it, see what you think, and then add to it. I'm just using my hands. Wear gloves if you're making this for other people. If you're the only one eating it, I guess you're good. I wash my hands a million times. But you see how this is kind of dry? It may be because I put cocoa powder in it. So my solution for that is going to be easy. I'm going to take some of my maple syrup right here. Let me wipe my hands off a little bit. And I'm going to take some maple syrup. And remember I said we're only going to use a tablespoon at a time. Here's a tablespoon. We're not going to just pour gigantic amounts in here because then you can overdo it. You don't want them to be so moist that they're wet. You want them to be, you know, the right consistency, not too moist, not too dry. So I'm going to mix in the maple syrup, and then remember the test. The way to test it is to try to make a ball. So if you try to make a ball and it comes together pretty well, then it's good. But see how it just keeps falling apart? So I'm going to add another tablespoon of maple syrup. Could I add some more peanut butter? Sure, I could add peanut butter, but I think I'll just do the maple syrup for now. And I think this will do it. In fact, I can tell it's a lot stickier. And remember, we're going to put it in the refrigerator, and that tends to make the oats expand a little bit, and that makes it stick together better as well. So this one I can tell is a lot better. When I try to squeeze it together, it stays together in a ball. It doesn't fall apart. So you kind of see what I'm talking about? This is what people were having trouble with. They were saying, oh, I tried to make balls and everything fell apart. Well, that's because there wasn't quite enough moisture. And one of the issues that I run into with people is if you're not measuring accurately, let's say that you were just being overly generous and you put a little too much oatmeal or a little bit too much flour or whatever you put in there, and it was just too much, but you didn't know it, then it needed more moisture, but you weren't aware of it. So to get the other mixture out that's been in the refrigerator, and then what we'll do is I will show you how to make it into balls. So there are different ways you can do this. You can do this, you know, an easy way is just to take your tablespoon and kind of smash it into your spoon like this, and then take it out of the spoon, and then you have the same amount for each one. You can also use a cookie scoop, which I have those in the other part of my house that I didn't bring out here. But you don't have to use a scoop, you can just use a spoon. Any way you want to do it. Or you can just, you know, spoon it out into your hand so you get the same size. But the point is you want to get kind of a uniform size for this, okay? You want them all to be pretty similar in size. So you just form them into balls using whatever you want to use, a scoop, your hands, measuring spoons. This one's a little puny. You can use a scale to measure the weight to see if they're the right weight. But you get the picture. You know, I could be here all day making these, to show you, but basically, you know, they're just all going to form into a ball. And if the mixture is a little dry, then remember, you can add just a little bit of maple syrup to it, and it will be fine. And there you go. That is the oatmeal nut butter balls. This one has blueberries and peanut butter and coconut and maple cinnamon and lots of other stuff in it. And it's delicious. And what we'll do after this is I'll put this in the freezer and let them set up in the freezer. And what that does is that makes them really solid. And then I store them in some kind of a glass container with a lid, just like this. There'll be like a bunch of them in a glass container in my freezer, you know, with a lid on it. Looks like that. And I just leave them alone and let them firm up. You know, don't try to eat them right away because they'll kind of crumble until they've had time to sit. I think it takes at least a good hour or so for them to set up in the refrigerator. See, now this is a little bit dry on the bottom, so even though it was there, I'm going to do what I did on the other one, which is, I can't find my measuring spoon, so I'm going to kind of, oh, here it is, right here. I'm going to add my little maple syrup right now because I'm mixing it around and I'm seeing it's a little bit dry in certain areas. So don't be afraid to, you know, make this work for you by adding what you need to add. And, you know, it's not perfect in perfect amounts because depending on what you add to this can make a difference in the amount of moisture you have. So see, that's sticking together better. But yeah, put it in your freezer. And then I haven't had any problems with them falling apart once they've been in the freezer set up over an hour or so, but you know, even after overnight or something, then they're really set up well. Then I just take them somewhere. They don't fall apart when you bite into them, unless you're in your car and you don't want to drop crumbs in your car. Then you take a bite and it'll fall apart on you. Happens every time. So yeah, but no, normally they don't fall apart on you. I wouldn't give them to the grandchildren if I didn't want them to make a mess, because whatever you give to the grandkids, they will make a mess with it. And this is something they definitely could make a mess with. So that's it. I'm not gonna make all the oatmeal balls, and they're not all exactly the same size, but I'm pretty good at getting them close. I don't like to make them too big, because if they're too big, then the problem is they're a lot more, you know, calories. So I'm trying not to eat gigantic amounts of things with nuts and sweets. So to me, it's better to have a couple of them smaller size than having, you know, because I might be tempted to eat 3 or 4 really big ones. Okay, so I'm going to wash my hands. And I'll keep working on this. Oh, and if your hands are slightly moist, that's kind of easier to handle the mixture too. So thank you for watching the oatmeal nut butter balls. And this is the blueberry version with blueberries and coconut and maple cinnamon and all kinds of different flavors. And remember, we also made the chocolate one, which I think is in here too. The double chocolate with cacao powder, chocolate, and walnuts. This one's going to be great too. So we have 2 kinds. Can't wait to have the full pans made. And I can't tell you exactly how many they make. I think it was about 2, 4, 6, about 3 dozen, I think, is what I could make out of this. And that's making them kind of on the smaller side. So you may be able to get less or more depending on the size you use. So I wish you the best luck in making these, and hope they turn out well for you. So thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel, and you know, watch some of my other videos. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.